All right, let's go ahead and get started. And once again, thank you for joining us. My name is John Haggerty. I am the Vice President of Marketing, also responsible for the online and mobile banking enhancements that we'll be going over today. We'll be going through a few slides, highlighting some of the changes, giving you a first look at what the new online and mobile banking system will look like and how it will change. There are a chat option, also a Q&A option on your Zoom tools. So at any time, if you have any questions about what we're going over, please feel free to use either the chat or the Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. So during today's session, we'll be going over what the account summary page looks like, what the account history pages look like, and give you an overview of that. We'll go over what the disclosure manager is, user history and sign-on, and a few other enhancements that we have. So this is what the new account summary overview page will look like. So on your screen, you have two screenshots. One of them is what it would look like if you were on a regular desktop computer, and also what it would look like if you were using our mobile app. So you'll notice that the screens look quite a bit different than what they do currently. The navigation has changed a bit, but all of the functionality of how you access your accounts, how you do transfers and make payments and settings and things like that, all of that functionality is largely the same, but they are kind of reorganized a bit. So we'll go over that a little bit more in depth a bit later, but we want to give you a first look at what the account summary page looks like. And on the account summary page, it's the very first page that you come to when you sign into online banking. And we have the accounts organized a little bit differently. So we have separate sections for checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, and mortgages, and things like that. In our current system, we have things grouped by deposits and loans, and the new system kind of categorizes them a little bit differently. But for the most part, all your accounts are listed on the account summary page. We display the available balance and the current balance. Also some links that you can access per your account. So for the Provident checking account that you see there on your screen, there's a couple of links right below that, so you can quickly set up any alerts that you want for that account. If you need to order checks, if there is a debit card or a credit card tied to your account, we have some tools where you can manage that we call card controls. So everything is very nicely and neatly laid out on the account summary page and giving you easy access to do whatever it is that you need to do. So also on the account summary page, there's a new module that's on the right that we call our quick transfer. So from this module, you can transfer to and from any of your accounts that you have with Provident. So you don't necessarily have to go to the transfer section if you don't want to. If you want to do a simple quick transfer from a savings to a checking account or vice versa, you can do that right from there. Also on the account summary page, we have another module on the right-hand side that we are listing several quick links. So from the quick links, you can make a transfer. You can e-deposit a check. So that e-deposit is where you take a picture of your check. You take a picture of the front and the back, and you can deposit that to most of your accounts. You can also have a quick link to any statements or notices. If you are a Quicken or a QuickBooks user for the small businesses with Provident, you can get access to those tools there. And you can also update any of your contact information, as well as find out what your member number is, all from that quick links box. Now, from the account summary page, if you want to get more information about a particular account, you would click on the account name. So we have a red highlighted box. So if you wanted to get more details about the Provident checking account, you can simply click on there, and on a mobile, you would tap on that account name. And then when you do that, you're going to come to the account history page, and the account history will show you all of your transactions for your accounts. You can change the nickname of your account. You have access to the same quick links as well as Quicken if you're a Quicken user. So if you want to get quick access to recent transactions, just go ahead and click on the account name. It will bring you right there. And then for the Provident members that might have a super reward checking account and you want to check what their monthly, what their status is in meeting the monthly requirements for that account, on the account summary page, there's a link that says tracker, but then also from the account history page, which is what we're looking at now, you can click on tracker and then you will pop up your requirements. And when we actually dive into the tool, rather than going over the slides, I'll show you exactly how that works. A couple of other tools that we are adding in with this new online banking system is the ability to chat directly with a Provident staff member. So we've always had the ability to send us what we call secure messages. So if you have a question about an account, question about a transaction, you can send us a message and we'll get back to you. This tool here will actually connect you in real time with our agents, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you have. So this will be available on the desktop site, but it will also now be available within the mobile app as well. So at any point, if you have a question about your accounts and you want to speak with somebody right away, this is a great option to do that. So we did have a question about try to take money out online to get a treasury bill that was limited to $5,000 a month. Why can't I take out more directly out since it's my money? I'm not sure about the rule or the policy that we have for that. I know some of our accounts limit the amount that you can withdraw. For example, at the liquid certificate, I believe that you are limited to how much funds you can withdraw at any time. But that might be not exactly what you're referring to. But at the end of this session, if you want to send me an email, and I'll provide you my email address at the end, and I'll certainly have somebody get back to you with the answer for that. Great, and we got another great question. So let me slide back a little bit. So the question was on our quick links transfer tool. And the question is, can you use this quick transfer tool to transfer funds from an external account? You can't do that from the quick transfer module, but you can do that if you navigate to the actual transfer section, and then we'll go over that in a bit. But that's a great question. So we did get another question about deposit insurance, and FDIC is a federal regulator that regulates banks. The NCUA is actually the government agency that insures credit unions. So we are insured by the NCUA, and our limits are no different than the FDIC. So every account that you have at Provident, or every member, is insured up to $250,000. And then if you have an IRA account, those IRAs have an additional $250,000 of NCUA insurance. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let's move on. Let me move back to where we were. Yeah, I think we had talked about the tracker. We talked about the chat tool. And then also one of the parts of the navigation that changed is the profile section. So currently on our site, you would access all your profile information from the top navigation that is titled Settings or Profile and Settings. In this new system, we've kind of separated those two. And so anything that deals with you as the person, so your contact information, your user ID, your password, your profile picture, everything that has to deal with you as a person is going to be listed under the profile menu, which we have on the screen right there. And then under settings, anything that deals with the account itself, so alerts or card controls that's tied to an account, a setting that's tied to an account, will be listed under those settings. So we wanted to highlight this because this is one of the areas of the navigation that's kind of moving and that might confuse some folks the first time they log in. So we wanted to give everybody a heads up. So in the profile menu, you can update your contact information. So that would be your address, your phone numbers or email addresses. Anything contact information related can be updated there. You can also view your contact information And if it's out of date, you need to update it, you can update it right there. You can also view your user ID, and you would also have the ability to change your user ID from that section if you'd like to. Same thing with password. We won't display the password there, but if you need to change or update it, you can do that. Also, if you're a mobile app user and you have authenticated any devices that you want to use, your fingerprint or Face ID, so all those devices that you've authorized would show up there. We have a new feature that allows you to upload a profile picture. So you can see at the top of the screen there, we have a silhouette in black and orange. If you wanted to actually upload your own picture, you can do that. If you wanted to view any of your sign-in history, or if you wanted to view any of your user activity, you can do that from the profile menu. And also, finally, one of the last new things that we've added in is you can view any of the disclosures that you have accepted, which show up under that section. And of course, I mentioned earlier the message center. So if you didn't want to use the chat tool, but you wanted to send us a question or a comment, you would do that right there in the message center. So you can view any messages that are ongoing, or if you wanted to initiate a new one, you can do that from that section. So I mentioned the disclosure manager. So, oftentimes when members want to use alerts, or they want to use Zelle, or if they want to sign up for external account transfers, or anything that requires the acceptance of a disclosure that has terms and conditions. Our current system has something very similar, but once you accept those terms and conditions, you don't have the ability to go back and see, okay, what have I accepted? What are these terms and conditions? With this new tool, you can see when you accepted it, and then not only that, you would be able to actually view it. So if you have any questions about how an account is supposed to work, or how a service is supposed to work, you want to go back and reference what you've agreed to, you can do that from the disclosure manager. And one of the security features that we have, and I mentioned the sign-on history and user activity in the profile section, but this is what it actually looks like. And we like this feature because it lets members know, every time they signed on, when was it, what was the date, what was the time, but also what was the device that they used. And the purpose of this is to kind of help members understand, who is accessing my account, or what devices am I using to access my account. And if you start to notice a device that you don't recognize, then that you might have unauthorized access to your account. Maybe some fraudster got access to your credentials somehow. But there is a link at the bottom of this module where you can send us a message, and we'll assist you with any issues that might be happening. But also on the user activity, it'll let you know, we don't have a screenshot of that. We do on the mobile side, but it's a bit small. It will let you know basically what you've been doing, or what kind of activity has been happening on your account. So again, when you've logged in, if you transferred funds, if you've paid bills, things like that, all that will show up under the user activity. So it's a nice security tool for members to kind of monitor their accounts. Okay, so that's it for the slides, but I did want to sign into the accounts and let you know what that looks like. So hopefully everybody can still see that. If you can't see my screen, please let me know. Okay, so we did get another question. So let me address that right now. So the question is, will we be able to set up two-factor authentication on our profile settings? You can't set it up automatic. You can't set it up, but we do have two-factor authentication on our online banking system. And it doesn't challenge you with that second authentication every time, but it will challenge you if our security system deems that we need to. So for example, if you purchase a new device, a new computer, and you're signing into online banking from that new computer, our security system is going to recognize that this is a device that's trying to sign into an account that it had never signed into before, and it may in fact challenge you with your two-factor at that point. So it doesn't challenge you every sign-on. It does it when the security system deems it necessary. However, for members that prefer to be challenged every time they sign in, that is a setting that we can turn on for you on a member by member basis. So I guess that kind of answers your question two ways. Do we have two-factor authentication? Yes, we do. And if you want it to challenge you every time, we can accommodate that. Just use the secure message feature in online banking, and we'll be sure to turn that on for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and sign in. And these screens should look very similar because it's exactly what we just went over on the slides. But this is the account summary page. Again, we have the quick transfer tool and quick links here. So if we wanted to take a look at a particular account and see what the recent transactions were on the account, you just click on the account title. The available and current balance still shows. It shows you your account number here, and also some links that are relative to this particular account. So if you wanted to stop a payment on a check for this particular account, you can do that. If you want to order checks, if you wanted to see a bit more detail of the account, you can click on this details button here, and it gives you some details. So the routing number, when it was opened, the last deposit amount, so on and so forth. So it gives you all that detail. Also, if you want to change the account nickname, you can do that. This is a very helpful tool if you have multiple checking accounts in the house, maybe one for the parent and maybe one for the son underneath the same account, but it's titled the same. They're both Provident checkings. You can use this change account nickname feature to say this is John's checking account or this is Bill's checking account. Kind of helpful to organize everything. So also on the account history page, you can download recent transactions. You can also search for recent transactions. And under search, you can filter it by these transaction types. So if you only wanted to see ACHs or direct deposit, you can do that. If you only wanted to see checks, you can filter it that way. And you can also filter it by a range of days. So show me transactions in the last 30, 60, 90, so on, or a custom range. And I think the custom range, you can go back to about 13 months worth of history. And you can shrink this box if you would like. Same quick links show up here, but that's essentially how you can view all the activity on a particular account. If you wanted to view activity on a different account, you can choose this drop down and we can switch over to a different account that we might have, or perhaps a loan that we might have. You can show all the history for that. Now, I did want to go back to the account summary page. I wanted to highlight a couple of other things. So on the account summary page, we show you all the accounts categorized by the account type, so checking accounts and savings accounts and so on. We also show you the rates that are being earned on those accounts for savings accounts, but we also show that for loans. So if you have a loan, you want to know what the interest rate was on that particular account, you can view that here. For the most part, the navigation at the top has remained fairly similar. I did mention that previously or currently it shows profile and settings. Now the profile is kind of moved up here. But under transfers, if you wanted to view the transfers module, you would click on that and you can conduct your transfers right here. And earlier we had a question about external transfers, and this is where you would make that type of transfer. So if you had your account connected with an account you may have at Bank of America or Wells Fargo, and you wanted to transfer funds either to or from those external accounts, you can do that right here. If you wanted to view any of your transfer activity, you can do that here. So under transfer activity, you can view any transfers that you have currently scheduled. So if you have a regular recurring transfer you set up, or if you have a future dated one-time transfer set up, that would show up under scheduled transfers. And also if you wanted to view any of your transfer history, you can do that from this tab right here. Now, if you have any external account transfers that are set up that are in process, so sometimes those external account transfers can take 2-3 days to complete, but once it starts, it would fall off of the scheduled transfer and it would come into the in-process external transfers, letting you know that this transfer activity has started. It hasn't finished yet, but it's in process. And then finally, if you are a Zelle user, you would access Zelle right from the transfers menu as well. From the settings menu, you can have access to set up alerts. So at Provident, we offer our members all kinds of different alerts. So you can set up alerts for your deposit accounts. You can set up alerts for your loan accounts, like when the payments due, things like that, but also for credit cards too. So you can access the deposit and loan and credit card alerts all from right there. If you are a credit card or a debit card holder and you wanted the ability to, let's say that you've lost your credit card or you've lost your debit card and you wanted to temporarily turn it off so that no unauthorized transaction could take place, you can do that right from either credit card controls or debit card controls. And there's a host of a bunch of other tools as well in those sections. So if you are traveling and you wanted to put some travel notes to make sure that, to make sure that those transactions continue to go through, you would do that right from the card controls section. Then also, if you're a text banking user, so if you have a mobile phone, you have the app, but you just wanted to get a quick balance for your account, our text banking feature allows for that to happen. And then also under overdrafts, if you have a checking account with us and you wanted to overdraft from a savings account or perhaps a money market account, you can set all that up here. And again, if you're a checking account user and you wanted to either opt in or opt out of our courtesy pay service, you can do all that right from here. And then also, or finally, under our bill pay section, so if you're a bill pay user, you would access all of the bill pay features and tools right from the navigation in the top. And then finally, just a couple of other things to make note of. If you wanted to identify the details of your account, let's say you wanted your full account number, you are setting up direct deposit to a particular account, but you don't have your statement or what have you, you can view your full account number right from here. Okay. And I think that is the highlights of everything we wanted to go over. So hopefully everyone has found this useful, but I would love to take any questions that you guys might have. We'll stay on the line and be able to answer as many of those as we can. Okay, so we've got a few questions that have come through. First one, can we wire funds from an account and is it free? You can wire, you can do wire transfers at Provident. You can do them either in the branch or you can access the form for doing outgoing wires right from the transfers module right here. And I do not believe it's free. I would love to quote a cost for that, but I'm not totally sure. I believe it's $50 or some percent of the amount, but I'm not totally sure what the fee is. But another question is, can you annotate entries like deposits to say in your own words what the transaction was for? And I think what you're saying is, can you add comments to a transaction? And no, we do not have the ability for members to add comments to a transaction. Yes, I agree. So we got a comment about our credit score feature. I didn't cover that, but I can. So in online banking, our members have the ability to monitor their credit score. And so when you enroll in this, it will show you what your score is. It will also give you alerts if anything dramatic happens to your score, like it goes up a lot or if it goes down a lot. We'll also give you alerts if perhaps you are late on a payment or late on what we call a trade line. We'll give you alerts for that. We'll also give you tips for ways that you can improve your credit score as well. So yeah, that's a very often used feature. It does not impact your credit score to use it. I know that's a concern of everyone when we're talking about credit scores and viewing it. Is my score going to go down when I enroll in the service? No, it will not. But it is a very helpful tool to let you know where you're at, where your credit is at, and if anything good or if anything bad has happened. We got a question about Zelle, and it's more of a comment. There have been, Zelle has been in the news with fraudsters kind of taking advantage of folks. And that is true. Often what is happening there is, a fraudster is getting in contact with a particular person and they are convincing them to use Zelle to send money out of their own accounts. And it's always a really good idea to only use Zelle to transfer funds to people that you know. Zelle is perhaps, one of the fastest growing services that we have here. We have, tens of thousands of transactions that happen through Zelle every month. Whenever we're talking about, transferring funds from one institution to another or from one institution to a person, fraud is always going to be a concern. And so, yes, it has been in the news, but it's usually a fraudster getting in contact with a member and convincing them to transfer funds to someone that they really should not be. So the best way to prevent that is to only transfer funds to a known person, to a known phone number, or known email address. Excuse me, a couple more questions. Can I check cosigners or beneficiaries on my accounts online? You cannot. We do not list the joint owners for deposit accounts, co-borrowers for loans. You can't check that online, and you are not able to check beneficiaries on your accounts online. However, if you do need to know who your joint owners on your accounts, or if you have a beneficiary selected for your accounts, you can either call us at our contact center, or you can visit us in our branch locations. So a few more questions. What will Super Reward checking look like? Well, the Super Reward checking account itself is not changing at all. So the monthly requirements, so the monthly spend, the ability to link to a credit card, the direct deposit requirements, or electronic transfer requirements, all of that is staying exactly the same. But how you check how you're doing in the month to see if you've met the requirements or not, that's changing a little bit, and I'll show you that to you now. So here's an example of a Super Reward checking account. If you wanted to check how you're doing month to date, you can click on this tracker button and a pop-up will come up. Or if you actually select the account, you can click on the tracker here and it will pull up where you're at month to date. So did I meet the February requirements? How am I doing for March? So on and so forth. And also this is where you can link to your credit card to help meet that monthly spend requirement. So again, the account itself isn't changing, but this part here, the details of where you're at month to date, is changing just a little bit. Okay, a few more questions, so bear with me. Yeah, great question. So the question is, they have an account where it's a joint account, and the primary has access to the statements and the tax forms, but the joints do not have access to them. That isn't changing, and I'll explain why. So our statements, our monthly statements, combine all of your accounts into one statement. So all of your savings accounts, checking accounts, and certificates, they all show up on that one, what we call a combined statement. The ownership of all of those accounts can be different. So, if it's a husband and wife scenario, the husband and wife might be primary and joint on the savings account and the checking account, but they may not be primary and joint on, say, a certificate account or a loan or an auto loan. And because of that, because there can be ownership differences, now the primary is always primary, they're going to see that, but the joint may not be the same for all the accounts. And that is why we do not provide statements to joints, because it would give them the ability to see accounts on which they are not an owner of, and we can't allow that. So that's why we don't do it. However, if the joint owner opens up their own primary account separate from the husband or the wife, they would be able to see the statement, or on their statement, they would be able to see the accounts that they're the primary on. But so no, that's not changing, but hopefully that gives you some insight as to why we don't allow that. Oh, this is a great question. And not necessarily related to online banking, but the question is, can you explain the difference between banks and credit unions? And basically, what are the differences? And I think it'd be summed up in banks are for profit and credit unions are not for profit. So generally, it's the case that the interest rates that you will earn on deposit accounts are going to be higher, not all the time, but generally the interest rates would be higher on deposit accounts, and your interest rates on loans would be competitive, extremely as competitive as we possibly can be. In addition to that, the fees that we charge from some of our services are going to be less than what you would get at another bank. So that's generally the difference, is that we're not-for-profit, banks are for-profit. And because of that not-for-profit attitude or mentality, we can make things a bit more beneficial for members on the deposit side and a bit less expensive for members on the loan side. So the next question is, do we have an amortization breakdown feature for loans? So in our loan history, it shows you a little bit of that, and I can come to a mortgage loan. This mortgage loan doesn't have any history in our test account here, but on your mortgage loan payment, and I'm not totally sure this is what you're asking, but this is what is available in our online banking. When you're making your mortgage payment, it will break down the principal and interest for you. Also, if there's any fees or if there's any escrow accounts that's attached to that loan, when you make your loan payment, the history section would show that breakdown for you. Now, it won't show you any future payments that you have and what your interest expense may be down the road, but we do have some calculators on our external site that will do that for you. So if you wanted to see the amortization breakdown of a proposed loan that you're looking at, our calculator on our external site or our non-online banking site can provide that information for you. So the next question is, when will all this new setup go into effect? We don't have an exact date just yet. We're still working on the final touches to make it, available for our members, but I can tell you that it will be within the next month. So at some point in March, this new system will go into effect. The next question we have here is, will the 2 p.m., I'm assuming 2 p.m. deadline to get a bill pay processed on the day of the request continue? Yes, that time frame is not changing with this. So a few more questions. Are there any changes of business checking account? There is no changes to how that account functions at all. So the same features, functionality, services, tools, rates, minimum balances, anything like that, that's all staying exactly the same. So next question is, how far back can we access statements? I believe it goes back either 18 or 24 months worth of statement history. And I think in your specific request for a statement, that it would not show if it's going to be beyond that 24 months, which I think it is. However, if you contact our contact center, we can provide copies of past statements for you. So, what I can do is I'm going to put into the chat what our phone number is. So that's the phone number to our contact center. And if you want to give them a call, they certainly should be able to provide that statement example for you. And I'm also going to put into the chat my email address. So if anybody has any questions after we end the session, you're more than welcome to send me an email and I'll be happy to answer that for you. So the next question is, will this be available again? We only have one webinar scheduled to go over online banking. However, we are recording the session and we will post the recording. We will post a link to the recording on our external site. And if I have a second, I can show you where that will show up. So one more thing. We do have a web page that explains basically what we covered today, gives you information about what's changing, a couple of videos for you to watch, but I think more usefully for members would be some of the videos that we have on how to do specific functions. So if you're a bill pay user and you want to see or watch a short video on how to add a payee, you can do that. If you've never used e-deposit before, you want to learn how to deposit checks remotely, there's a video for that too. There's videos for transferring funds, for setting up automatic transfers, how to open a new account or reset your password. So if you want to watch a video for some of those tutorials, you can do that. But also if you want a step-by-step tutorial, we have that available on this page as well. But back to the original question, after this event is over, we will post a link to this recording under seminars and events, and it will be listed under other seminars. So we should have the recording to this posted certainly by tomorrow. That's where it will be located. And so you can review this in case you need to. Okay, so a few more questions. So for free checking account, how do I see my account requirements? Now, I'm assuming that you are referring to our Super Reward checking account, and we did cover that, but I can do it really quickly. So if you are in fact referring to the Super Reward checking account and you want to see, the month to date where you're at with your requirements, you could click on this link here that's called Tracker, and it will bring up all of your month to date activity for that account and how you're doing at meeting those monthly requirements. Another question is, did the online banking vendor change? No, the online banking vendor has not changed. And also your usernames, your passwords, none of that is changing either. So the same, what we call credentials, the same set of credentials that you use to log into your accounts, either on desktop or mobile, that is staying exactly the same. Yeah, I think I've reached the end of the questions, but I will stay on for a few more minutes in case the attendees have any more questions. And frankly, if you guys have questions about online banking, the stuff that we went over, or if you have questions about online banking for stuff that we didn't cover, or really any questions at all about Provident, please feel free to enter those into the Q&A or to the chat, and I'll be happy to answer those. So we got another question that was entered in. So the question is, what is the Quicken and QuickBooks link? So if you are a Quicken or QuickBooks user, what we allow you to do, or what our online banking system allows you to do, is it allows you to download a file of your transactions for that particular account in a particular format that will allow you to then upload it into Quicken or QuickBooks. So if you're unfamiliar with Quicken, Quicken is kind of like a money management tool that lets you know, how you're spending your money, what are the trends or categories and things like that. It's a software product, produced by a company called Intuit, and it's very widely used. And so if you're a user of Quicken, you want to, add in your Provident accounts, upload your transactions in there, the Quicken and QuickBooks link allows you to do that. So another question is, what types of rewards are offered in reward checking? Fantastic question. So Super Reward Checking is kind of our flagship checking account. And there are two rewards that members enjoy, well, three rewards really. One, the account is free. So whether or not you meet the monthly account requirements or not, the account is free. However, if you do meet the account requirements, we actually pay interest on a checking account. And that's, somewhat unusual. Not every financial institution offers interest on a checking account. Interest is usually, or dividends as we refer to them, dividends is usually something paid on a savings account, money market, or a certificate, whereas checking accounts, because it's transactional, largely at most institutions, they do not offer an interest dividend on that account. However, at Provident, we do, just as long as you meet your monthly requirements. In addition to the dividend that we also offer ATM rebates. So if you use an ATM that's not Provident, they charge you like $2.50 or $3 to withdraw money from that ATM. If you have a Super Reward checking account, we actually reimburse those ATM fees that you might get from using somebody else. So you get the free account, you get the dividend paid on your balances, and you also get the ATM fee rebates. Okay, well, it looks like the rest of the questions that have come through. Just wanted to say thank you very much for joining our session. And my email address is in the chat. So if anybody has any questions after the fact, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll certainly be able to help you out. So thank you very much.